guys, welcome back to my channel and to part two of this video series, Manifest Your Thoughts into Reality so that you can manifest business success in any climate. My name is Sharon Atkinson. I am a metaphysical transformational coach and a master intuitive healer, and I empower business owners, entrepreneurs, and visionaries to hit their next level income goals and make their financial freedom unavoidable. And that is the type of content that you can expect to find on my YouTube channel. I work a lot with mindset, metaphysics, and manifesting. And they're all things that are part of my trademarked abundance mastery system. So you're definitely going to be finding pieces of this information on here, which is amazing. And in this video, part two, we're going to go through how you can identify limiting beliefs and how you can remove them, which is a bit of a mystery to a lot of people. So I'm going to help you unpack that. And if you haven't seen part one yet, part one is all about how you create beliefs in the first place. So, and this will give you an understanding of how you've been creating limiting beliefs and supportive beliefs, but the problematic ones in your life. It's going to give you a really good understanding of that. So you have this new awareness of the thought processes involved for you so that you can make new choices. You don't need to keep creating them in the same way, and you can stop them dead in their tracks. So that is going to be really useful. I'm going to put go check that out. I'm going to put the link to that in the description box for you too. And for your own awareness, I don't know if I've mentioned this before, I am a former business banker and I am a complete nerd. And we're going to be using slides in this video series. And if you're a visual person, I'm very visual. If you're a visual person like me, then I'm sure you will appreciate it. So, okay, let's go. I'm going to share my screen with you. Okay. So, where we picked up on where we left off on the first video is how your beliefs are created. And I'm not going to go into this in a lot of detail, only to say that in part two today, we are going to be covering this part here, the evidence that you're collecting to support some of these opinions that you might have formed, because this is really, really crucial when it comes to creating limiting beliefs. If you don't have any evidence to back up an opinion that you have, it's more like a passing thought, carries absolutely no weight, doesn't mean anything to you, and it's pretty insignificant. It's not going to be in your subconscious. It's not running on autopilot. It's not going to pull you up, stop you, or block you in any way, shape, or form. And that's what a lot of today, or part two, that's what we're going to talk about. So, identifying and clearing your limiting beliefs. If I can put this up here for me. Yeah, that's better. Okay. So what you believe is true until you change your mind. And it's a little bit funny, like it sounds like a funny statement, like I'm playing mind games with you a little bit, but it's true. Anything you believe is true until you change your mind. And that is because the truth is very subjective, right? So there's your truth, there's my truth, and then there's the truth. And this is different for everyone because your experiences are different to mine. You've seen different things to me, and your worldview and the way that you look at the world is going to be different for all of those reasons. So you can have a new experience, learn something new, do something new, and then your whole perspective changes. So whatever you believe is true until you change your mind. And that's what we're going to do intentionally in this training, is help you change your mind. for the things that are stopping and blocking you in your business so you can generate some revenue. It doesn't matter what's going on in the world. What a superpower. If you could master just this, what a superpower you would have, right? Okay. So how do you identify these limiting beliefs that you might have in the first place? That is a fantastic question. I knew you were going to ask me this because people really struggle with this. Like they're not logical often, and I'll go into a little bit more detail about why that is later, but they're not logical. Like there are some that are logical, like you have to trade time for money. If you want to earn a lot of money, you've got to work really hard. Like you know, that's a lot of conditioning, things that we might have been told growing up as children. And that was definitely one of the messages I got growing up is if you want to have anything in the world, you've got to work really hard for it. You know, you might like all these nice things, Sharon, but one day you're going to have to get a job and you're going to have to work really hard to pay for all this stuff for yourself. Okay. So limiting beliefs can look like that, but they don't always make logical sense like that either. So you can start to notice what these are based on your inner dialogue and noticing the things that you're telling yourself. That's really important thing to do. And just having that self-awareness and you can set an intention just to notice, and you'll start to pick up on some of the things, some of the thoughts that you have that come up out of nowhere that you bring your attention to on a daily basis that amplify and intensify all the things that you don't want to see show up for you. So that's one way. Another way is in your dialogue with other people. So when we're going through this process of self-reflection and we're noticing our internal dialogue, we can start to say things to ourselves like, oh yeah, but I don't really mean it. Or that's not that bad. Like that's not a big deal. That's not going to impact me because I don't really think that that's the case. And we can talk ourselves out of why our internal dialogue is not as significant. But it is, right? And you'll notice that in your conversations with other people. So if you ever notice that sometimes you'll have a conversation with someone and it's like, you're saying something that you shouldn't be, but you just can't help it. And you think, why am I saying this right now? That's your subconscious mind dictating to you what needs to take place in this particular scenario. So foot in mouth disease. A lot of foot in mouth disease can come from your subconscious mind, and you can botch up a podcast, you can botch up a client meeting. There's a lot of things that can happen based on the messaging that's in your subconscious. So start to notice when you talk about a particular, excuse me, when you start to talk about a particular situation with people, especially something that's really bothering you, how is that coming across? What sort of words are you using and what are you saying about that? And then the other really cool way that you can identify some limiting beliefs going on for yourself is to just observe the conversations happening around you, because your internal reality is reflected back to you in your external reality. So you will start to see other people around you going through the same experiences. And it could be a friend who happens to be in the same situation that plays out for them as well. Or it could just be that you're in a cafe having a morning coffee and you overhear a conversation in the cafe and that person happens to be going through the exact same thing that you are. So that's the other way. And then it will show up. So pay attention to the conversations that you can hear around you. And I am encouraging you to eavesdrop because it's going to be an indicator for you about what's going on internally. So if you don't like the conversations that you're overhearing, and you can notice they're maybe a little bit heavy, very pessimistic, that's coming from you in some way, shape, or form. So, to give you an example of this, right? I like to play this game when I go shopping. And there's one morning, I wanted to get something done because I had to go and buy some ink for my printer. And I wanted to get something done before I did that. And my whole day, I intend everything. And this is the nerd in me. I want to finish everything by a certain time because next I'm going to do this and that's going to finish by, anyway, that's how I am. And I wanted to get this thing wrapped up. And then my husband came in just to have a conversation. Something really great had happened for him. And I'm thinking, I want to like celebrate this achievement with you, but I want to wrap this up. And then the conversation kind of veered off and I was getting off track. And I started to get annoyed because I wanted to wrap things up. I'm sticking to my schedule. I want to do this. And a thought that came across my mind is he's wasting my time. And then, but I finished what I had to do, went and bought my toner. And then what was really interesting was that I was standing in line at like the office supply place, standing in line there, and there was a guy in front of me on the phone. And he was describing this product that he was going to purchase. And he's saying, can you just hurry up? Like, I've got things to do. I'm next in line. I don't want to be here all day. Can you hurry up and make a decision? Like, is this the one that you want me to buy or not? And he was getting really annoyed. And I started laughing, not out loud or anything, just to myself, quietly on the inside. I'm like, ooh, okay. I could see that me being annoyed and saying to myself that my husband is wasting my time was reflecting back to me in this conversation that I was seeing at the office supplies place. So really interesting. And he was getting really frustrated. And I thought, okay, I've got to like clear that out because otherwise my day is going to be full of these things that are going to annoy me because that's what I'm focusing on, or that's what I focused on. So you can start to notice that, and you'll be really surprised about some of the things that come up. And they're not all bad. Like sometimes, hopefully most of the time you have like these really good experiences around you. And that's a direct reflection of what's going on internally for you too, when you're in a really good place. So how do you clear them? How do you turn around and say things to yourself like, oh, okay, I can see I have this limiting belief that, people are wasting my time, and how do I clear this? That's a fantastic question. I'm glad you asked. So this is basically how you do it. Okay. So step one, you need to be really honest with yourself in your self-reflection, and anything that comes up that's kind of heavy, treat it as a limiting belief, or it's attached to a limiting belief. And then make a conscious decision that you're just going to notice all of the internal dialogue and all of these experiences that you're having. Make a conscious decision to do that and keep a list. Keep an inventory. Do this for one day. If you did this for one day, you would be amazed at the number of things that are going to pop up. If you have genuine, honest self-reflection, you will find heaps of stuff. Just write it down. You don't have to make it mean anything. Just make it as like an interesting game you're going to play with your own consciousness, and just to notice like what goes on, what sort of limiting beliefs might I have going on here. That's all. Take it from that perspective, right? And then once you have this list of beliefs that you observe that you don't particularly like, you're going to prove yourself wrong. And you're going to tell yourself all the reasons why this feeling or this belief is not true. And then if you have, and this is where it gets like a little bit more interesting, if you can think of all the different reasons why you have a different perspective, all the different reasons why you can debunk this theory or this belief that you don't really want to have, write it down, and then replace it with a better one. So that's pretty much it. Like, that's how you clear it. This isn't how I clear beliefs with my clients, but we don't go into detail. We focus on outcomes and we clear all of this stuff that's in the way. We do that energetically. But if you don't have that skill set, this is a really easy way to do it. And people have, I'll take you through an example. Yeah, I'll take you through an example. That's going to be the easiest way to go through this in a little bit more detail. And, okay, this will give you some framework for how you can approach this yourself. So you have a limiting belief, and this is actually a limiting belief one of my clients had, which is not going to make any sense on the surface, but I'll explain why. So the best way for her to get clients is to work with them for free first. And that way they discover how much they love working with her, and she converts about 30% of those people into paying clients. That's her best way to generate revenue in her business. And, you know, this seems just so ridiculous. And it's not an idea that she had necessarily, like she didn't wake up one morning and decide the best way for me to get clients is this particular method. This is accumulation of opinions and evidence that she's collected that points to this. So this is her limiting belief, right? She has a lot of experience where she's worked with people for free and they've become clients because they love the work she does. And she has so many stories around this and so much evidence that it's firmly cemented in her subconscious that this is the way that she has to approach business. But no business coach is going to tell you that this is sustainable, that you can grow a business this way. And basically, no business coach is going to tell you to work for free either. I don't want to work for free, and I know you don't either. So this belief is not helpful in any way, shape, or form. And for her, falling short of her income goals, like it's clear to see why. Do you know what I mean? So when you can see this stuff, I'm very used to looking at limiting beliefs. I'm not laughing necessarily at her. I'm laughing at the beliefs and how beliefs work. And if you're in a state of amusement, you're amused by all of this stuff, then they can shift out a lot faster. So I would encourage you to do that too. Be really amused by what you find and don't take yourself seriously through this process. Just be amused and go, oh, wow, I've got, you know, this funny belief that I have to work for free before I can generate any sort of income. But 30% of those people are going to work with me. But no one wants to work for free 70% of the time. No one, right? So just stay amused. And then what you do is try to replace that belief with a more supportive one. And for her, we've changed this to clients I'm not even aware of show up unexpectedly and contact me to work with them because they see how I can support them. And this is true, right? So one of the things I like to do with my clients is help them see a different truth. And so with this client in particular, if I think about how I interact with different social media pages, I don't necessarily like every post that I see. I might follow someone on social media. I might not comment. I might not like anything, but doesn't mean that I haven't seen it. Doesn't mean that I highly respect that person. It doesn't mean that they're not on my radar in some way, that if I want help with copywriting at some stage, that's going to be my go-to person. That definitely happens. That's how I roll. I don't interact with them and, you know, pump up their tires every time they post something on social media, but they're definitely on my radar. And so for you and for my client as well, this can absolutely be true. Like you don't know, you know, you don't know how your clients are seeing you on social media, or even if they are, you have no idea. So don't make the assumption that they're not, because you're also accidentally going to shut down and really, really narrow your field of revenue that comes in for you. So don't accidentally make that mistake. So what else did I have here for you? Okay, I want to talk a little bit more, actually. I just want to talk a little bit more about the evidence. And it's actually like a pretty challenging thing to do. But your evidence can be all sorts of stuff, right? So your evidence can be that you use to debunk a limiting belief. It can be something like your can just be made up. It doesn't need to be an actual experience that you've had. We have this different perspective on things. You can make it up. It can be, if you think about this from the perspective of your beliefs create your reality and everything is mirrored back to you, then you can also take all of the positives that other people are experiencing and use that as evidence to debunk a belief that you had. And because it's being reflected back to you, this is definitely within you. You can definitely experience this in some way because you already resonate with it to see it in the first place. Take that as evidence. I absolutely do. And I'm going to encourage you to do the same thing, which is challenge. Like, I know it's a challenge. It's a challenge for most people. It's a challenge for my clients. And can I give you homework on YouTube? Yeah, okay. Maybe not. But I would really, really like to invite you to, if you're not going to keep an inventory for an entire day, because that seems like a really big ask, then I get it. Pick one thing. Pick one thing that is a sticking point for you at the moment, something that's pressing all of your buttons and getting you fired up, and you know that there's a limiting belief attached to it, and write down all of the reasons why you think that particular scenario is true. And then in either a separate column or on a separate page, write why it's no longer true. And I guarantee you've done this before. If you have ever been on a diet and you've been really good, eating all the right things, doing all the hard work, working out, you know, getting really involved, and you think, you know what, I just want to have some chocolate. And it's not part of, this diet plan for weight loss that you have for yourself, but you eat the chocolate anyway, and you can justify to yourself why you deserve it, why it doesn't make a difference. There's all these reasons why that you can come up with about why that piece of chocolate is a good thing, why you deserve it, why you should have it, who really cares, it's not going to make a difference, and the list goes on. So in the same way that you can justify having that piece of chocolate, I would encourage you to justify why that limiting belief is no longer true, and get a bit creative with this. Like, have some fun. Do it in a bit of a like tongue-in-cheek kind of way, and just get creative and let rip. A lot of people find this challenging though. And you need to put your logic aside to think of some different possibilities in some of these scenarios, depending on what you're going through, like maybe a legal situation. And it's tough. I've been there, but it's possible. So ask yourself too, like, is what I'm asking you to do impossible, or is it just unfamiliar? Because if it's unfamiliar, you get to create a new belief. You get to form a new opinion around this stuff, and you get to create evidence for yourself that you can overcome anything. So I really, really encourage you to do that. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel either, so you don't miss any more of my videos. And I will see you for part 3, which is all about creating supportive beliefs that are going to empower you. And if we can drop them into your subconscious, then they are going to really, really surprise and delight you and help you generate a lot more revenue in a really easy and effortless way, which how good is that? So instead of stopping and blocking you, you're going to have belief systems that empower you, absolutely support you. Isn't that so much more fun than the limiting belief perspective? Okay. I will see you for part 3. Ciao.